It's episode 518 of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. I'm your host, Brice Paterik. Today, I'm joined by Grant Schiller, the prospect expert, to break down the 5 biggest questions the Rangers have to answer heading into 2022. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On to the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Brice Paterik. Here today, joining me is Grant Schiller, the Rangers prospect expert. First, I want to thank you guys so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day. If you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Brice Paterik. Follow the show at Locked On Rangers, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever the heck you get your podcast. Also, while you're at it, follow Grant Schiller at OG Schill on Twitter. Grant, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just got my AC fixed, so I'm no longer really hot. That's been a big positive to my day, so I'm doing good over here. How about you?
Oh, well, I'm not that positive. I mean, I started my morning with an overflowed toilet, and it did get better from there. It's hard to get worse from there, but
Yeah. that is an easy way to get the low point of your day over with quickly.
Yeah, and I was up before 10 up and out of bed and out of the house, and and it still started poorly. So I'm going to go back to sleeping until noon. I have learned my lesson. I am not getting up early. Nothing happens but poop coming out of your toilet. That's what happens when you get up early. All you go-getters. You lied to me.
Yeah, that is the big secret. We try not let people in on it, but now.
Hustle culture has gone too far. But on today's episode, we are asking and answering the 5 biggest questions. Well, I guess the Rangers are going to have to answer them. I don't think we're going to be able to answer them today. I mean, we might if some a whole bunch of huge breaking news comes out in the 30 minutes we're recording this podcast. But the 5 biggest questions the Rangers have to answer in 2022. Now that could be we're putting a very loose interpretation on it. This is a weird week, so this is going to be a weird podcast. I mean, not that they aren't all weird. Especially with us too, they always go to a weird place, but I feel like it's in a good way. But just 5 questions in general that we want the Rangers to answer in 2022. Now, Grant, since you are the guest, I'm going to go ahead and let you start and list your first question that the Rangers must answer in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's still, even with a big league team that's going to be better, the biggest question for me this year is still, who do they draft? Do they nail a draft pick? Do they go and get one of these high school kids who look to be really, really good? I know I really like Tamar Johnson, Elijah Green. I think it'll be just ranked Drew Jones, Andrew's kid, number 1.
I think he was number 2. And then there was a George. The last one that I looked, they were the first mock draft that they did that I saw. They might have ranked him number 1, but the in the mock draft that I looked at, they had a Georgia second baseman.
That would be Tamar.
First over, yeah,
that would be Tamar Johnson, who I really like that guy. So do they go for one of those guys, or do they kind of repeat what they went for last year with Jack Leiter, where they wanted somebody closer to the big leagues and get one of the college bats? Because it looks to be a bat-heavy draft, whereas last year was a pitcher-heavy. And get maybe Josh's brother, Jace Young, the shortstop from Cal Poly, Brooks Lee, the LSU third baseman, Jacob Berry, or a couple of the outfield prospects who are kind of a little bit further down, but obviously it's before their senior season. So there's going to be a lot of movement on that board. But the biggest thing to me is still the draft. And you're still going to have – well, I guess it's going to depend – what all they have is going to depend on the CBA. Since they did go and sign Simeon, they did sign Seager, who in the past would cause draft pick compensation. But regardless, that first-round pick will be there. And I think they're picking number 3.
Yep, they are.
So it'll be interesting to see where they go. And that's another pick that they still just really have to nail. Because as we've said a million times, the farm still lacks impact talent. And they're going to need that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're picking in the top 5, no matter where you are in your on your development rebuild / maybe you just had one really down year, you cannot afford to screw up those picks because we have seen how much it impacts a team when you mess up a top 5 pick, especially if you're top 3. Like, you really can't miss on those guys. I mean, you see the ones where people did, and all these guys that are behind them, and you look like, wow, there are so many guys you missed out on. Like, even if you don't get the best player in the draft with like your top 3 pick, you need to get a solid big leaguer, like a guy who you know is going to be there and has some star potential in that top 3. I think Leiter has that. I wasn't as jazzed about him as the other guys, but mainly just my own hate of pitching prospects. But Elijah Green is a guy who I really liked and read a lot about this summer, and hopefully he can have a good season, but not too good a season, so he can still be there at 3. But I believe the mock draft also had the Rangers picking Barry, the LSU third baseman. So
they get what they missed in Alex Bregman.
Yeah. Except hopefully he's less of a tool.
Right. That is the hope. Yes.
I mean, it's hard to get more of one, but, who knows? Who knows? But that's a good question to answer, and I think that's a very important one they have to answer. And, I've got a very important question that they must answer, and it's who is left? Who are they going to get as their next starting pitcher? Because they need one more, and that is a huge question they have to answer. Well, they will answer before the season of like who are they going to get, because they can't get nobody. I mean, they technically can, but they shouldn't, especially if they want to, move out of the class of where they were last year, because it takes a while to get from the bottom of the barrel to even, scrappy fun team. Like, they need to get to about, like, by the end of the season, whether the record shows or not, by the end of the season, they need to be about, like, scrappy young fun team. They're not going to, get in the playoffs, but they're going to ruin someone's day several times. They might even ruin their whole week with a random sweep in, like, September when they're out of the playoff picture. But, if they can ruin the Astros' day one random weekend in September, like, that'll be a lot of fun.
That would be great.
So they need somebody reliable. They need somebody preferably good, but I will take reliable and mediocre over unreliable and good. So
what about reliably bad, like Mike Foltynewicz?
No, I would not like that. I would not like that at all. If there is literally nothing else, I will take it, but I will not be happy about it. Because there are other options there.
For my watching enjoyment, I hope it's Zach Greinke. Just because I think it'll be really fun to watch him for a year, even if he's just about washed, maybe completely washed by the time this next year rolls around. But I hope it's him. But yeah, I mean, I think just in general, the starting rotation is going to be one of the biggest questions throughout the season, because they went and got John Gray, obviously. Mm-hmm. But then even how you round it out beyond the free agent, right? I mean, does Taylor Hearn stick as a starter? Colby Allen, I don't necessarily have much hope that he ever becomes more than a swingman. But does A.J. Alexy come back up at some point? Does Glenn Otto have a chance of sticking as a starter? Does Jake Latz have a chance of sticking as a starter? Dane Dunning, hopefully he can repeat. I think he will be a big league caliber starter. And I feel like I'm missing a couple people here. I'm assuming Cole Winn spends the year in AAA.
Spencer
Howard, yes. Spencer Howard's a huge question for the future of this franchise.
I'd say, he is just a huge question mark just in general. Like, what is this man? I mean, I watched every single one of his appearances last year, and I have no idea what that man is. But, I'm excited for the potential. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the number 3 question the Rangers have to answer in 2022. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. It's almost the new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. If yours are about getting fit, eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolutions because it tastes so good you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars which can be chalky, waxy, or taste like chemical spill. You don't want your Built Bars to taste like chemical spill, and no Built Bars ever will. Some other protein bars will, but not Built Bars. They will never disappoint because they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Most bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams protein. Compare that with a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Here's an idea. For the new year, go all in to your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, office, and the cart, wherever. Throw out all those sugary, calorie-filled treats. Replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or a treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes absolutely incredible. There's so many flavors to choose from: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and more. In fact, Built Bar is always coming out with new limited time flavors, so check out Built.com to see what's new. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. And now, back to my talk with Grant Schiller. And we are back. I'm just leaving that in because,
Well, look, the whole thing got screwed up because Levi broke the fourth wall in how you make the magic last time. And now you can't even pull it off anymore. It's just gone. That's why a magician never shares his tricks.
Oh, gosh. Once again, I can blame Levi for something because he doesn't listen to this podcast, because he's not my real friend. And if he was listening, then I'm sorry about that. But you're not, so I can talk trash. And you won't listen until the next time that you're actually on the podcast. And even then, I don't blame him for not listening back through other podcasts you've been on. I don't do that. I'm like, I already was there and the podcast. But anyway, we're talking about the number 3 biggest question the Texas Rangers had to answer in 2022 with Grant Schiller, the OG Shill, on Twitter. What is this question that you have for the Texas Rangers?
I'm going to take it back to the farm, and I'm going to ask what they do with all their middle infield prospects now that they kind of got those positions locked down for a little while. Because obviously they have...
What happened? What did they get somebody?
So you see, they spent $500 million, and they signed a guy named Corey Seager, who is the brother of the guy who homers against the Rangers all the time.
Oh, that guy. No, I know that guy.
And a guy named Marcus Semien, who was a teammate of the other guy who homered for the Rangers all the time, and then became a Ranger and didn't homer at all.
Oh, yep. I remember that guy too. K-Riss. He's back to K-Riss. He's not Chris anymore. Mm-hmm. Lost that.
Poor K-Riss.
That title. But anyway. So what I wonder what they do because
right, you've had plenty of experience with doo-doo today, so you're one to speak on this subject.
Yeah, because there are a lot of really good. Most of their top prospects, besides Leiter and Young, Wynn. So besides the top 3, and Sam Huff is technically in here, but I mean he's not.
He's not right now. Right.
But these positions are pretty locked down. I mean, of these guys, who do you think would transfer best to playing the outfield? Because the outfield's got some openings for the future. And I don't feel like it's that hard to learn how to play left field. It's not like playing first base, because Wash told me it's incredibly hard.
Yeah, I think Ziggy Duran has the bat to move out there and carry a profile. Trevor Hauver might just be an outfielder already. Mm-hmm. Davis Wenzel is a utility guy, is probably his future, so it doesn't impact him too much, although it does take away some playing time, obviously. Luis Angel Acuna is a really good shortstop. He's also a long ways away, so you probably don't have to worry about it. Maximo Acosta is a long ways away, so you probably don't have to worry about it. But Justin Foscue and Josh Smith are probably the two who it impacts the most. Because Smith, maybe he can play center field. That would carry the profile. If he moves to a corner, it gets a little bit tougher because I like him quite a bit, and I think he can hit. But he's not necessarily going to be a huge power guy. In left or right, it might be a little bit tougher for him. Foscue is a bat-first guy, so left field might work out better for him, actually, because I'm not sure at all about him at second. But I have questions on him in general. So I'll just be interested to see how they move guys around, whose bat develops where it looks like they can stick in a corner outfield spot, or even center field ideally, or if they just stick with these guys up the middle and maybe trade them for prospects elsewhere, or just kind of what the plan is, because obviously those positions are locked down for a while.
Yeah, and I wonder how much – I think how much they like each of these prospects really adjust how long each of those guys will stay there. Because we both don't think by the end of this I don't think that you think that Corey Seager is going to be playing shortstop for the Rangers in 2030 or whenever the next last year is. And I don't think that Semien necessarily. Yeah. I think actually, let me ask you this: who do you think is more likely to be playing at their position at the end of their contract? Either Semien in 7 years, or I guess 6 and a half years, whatever. Simeon playing second base then, or Corey Seager playing shortstop in 9 years.
Yeah, I bet Simeon is at second base at the end of that contract, because at that point, Seager's probably your third baseman. I don't know where Young is. You're not going to move Simeon up the defensive spectrum to shortstop. And he's a really good defensive second baseman right now, so I doubt he'll be moved to first base at that point. So I think there's a good chance he finishes at a second baseman. Maybe not there every day. Maybe he splits some time at first or DH or left or wherever, but I bet there's a good chance he's at least a part-time second baseman, whereas I don't see any way Seager's a shortstop at the end of his contract. He may not even be the shortstop by 2025, 2026.
Ooh, that's bold. I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I still think it's bold to say, and I think he's going to fight for it as long as he can.
Oh, definitely.
But it's definitely going to come down to either Acosta or Acuna knocking down that door, and they're both quite a ways away. It's probably at least 2 years for both of them, if not 3. So
yeah, I lean towards 3 for Acuna probably, and longer for Acosta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be a hot minute before they do that. But moving on to my biggest question, the number 4. We're going to end up doing more than 4. I can already tell. We're just going to keep going and doing questions until we don't have any more questions. But my big question is, what do the healthy relievers look like? What does the bullpen look like with the addition of 2 guys that were out for the year in Jose Leclerc and Jonathan Hernandez? Those guys, I think at this point, lock in as the closer and setup man. I don't know which is which, but there's still a lot of questions because it feels like they haven't pitched in forever. I mean, Leclerc didn't really pitch that much last year, did he? I mean, 2020?
No, I don't think so. It's been a while since we've really seen him. I guess since 2019, since we saw him throw a full season, right?
Let's see. Yeah, he pitched in 2 games in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's been a while for him.
Because best case scenario, the bullpen is pretty filthy. If you get him back at full strength, Johnny Hernandez back, Nick Snyder back there, Joe Barlow, along with a few other names, right? So, best case scenario, it looks pretty good back there.
Yeah, I think I like Jonathan Hernandez a little bit better just because I've seen him more recently, and the 2 years of absence is a little concerning. And gosh, and I know it was a short sample size, just 27 games for him in 2020, but man, that guy was nasty. I really liked what I saw from him, and especially since he's moved to the pen. Like, I didn't necessarily love it as a starter. I thought, like, maybe, but like it wasn't quite there. With Leclerc, I didn't see anything with him as a starter. I was like, I really don't get what they're seeing for the longest time. I didn't even see, like, nasty reliever. I was just like, this guy can't hit the strike zone at all, and I couldn't see what he was doing. And, you know, he came up to the big leagues and had a couple really, really great seasons, and I'm like, all right, now I get it. I get what you saw there, why you wanted to keep this guy, at least, because I was at the point where I was like, why is this guy even being considered as a big leaguer? And then he comes up to the big leagues and does that, and I was like, oh, that's why. It's because I'm an idiot.
Because he's got a nasty slutter. Cut change. Yes, not
cut change,
not a slutter. Sorry,
which
cut
people
change,
keep calling it a slider, and like, it's a slider. Like, no, it is a cut change up. Stop it. That's what he calls it. That's what it is. That's what it behaves like. Quit trying to just call it a slider. It's garbage.
Yes, I agree.
Man,
but I mean,
change-ups.
Yeah, John Hernandez needed to be a reliever well before they made him one too. But those two they've got the stuffer back there. With both of them, it's about control command. But they have this stuff to be really, really good out there.
Yeah, and that bullpen should be a lot of fun next year. It's just who's going to be a big role is going to be a question that they have to answer. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at question number 5. Yes, I'm bad at counting. And all the other questions, any other questions the Rangers might have to answer in 2022. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues their march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. The Cowboys just locked up a playoff spot, so maybe you can go make a bet on them on betonline.ag. You can head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts. And now, back to my talk with Grant Schiller. And we are back with the wonderful, the glorious, the great OG Grant Schiller at OG Show on Twitter to talk about the biggest questions that the Rangers have to answer in 2022. I don't know why I keep bringing it back in like it's a radio show and people might just be tuning in the middle of an episode. Like, this isn't like being live streamed, so it's not just like someone can jump in there. I mean, technically you could just like randomly skip to like 18 minutes into an episode, but that's like true psycho behavior. If you're doing that, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I hope you're okay, because you're clearly not. But anyway, question number 5, hard-hitting journalism question number 5. Grant, what is the 5th most important question the Rangers need to answer in 2022?
Leody Taveras. I mean, it feels like this is a very important year for him to lay claim to that center field position.
Yeah.
He's going to be a really good defensive center fielder. Can he be 15, 20% below league average with the bat this year and be a couple win player, lay claim to the starting job, and then build on the offense from there? If he can do that this year, I'd be thrilled. If he does more, great. But this feels like it is kind of the year for him to say that that's his job.
Yeah, because there's not a whole lot down the pipe that I'm like, you know what, that guy, definite center fielder, definitely feel good about him being a, Division I, at least like starting caliber center fielder. I mean, there's guys who can like maybe do it in the system. Like I think maybe Evan Carter, he played a decent amount of center field this year. I don't know how great I feel about it. Trevor Halver, I don't.
He's not a center fielder. He might be an outfielder. He's not a center fielder.
Steele Walker is not a big leaguer. So Bubba Thompson, maybe.
Bubba Thompson, maybe a fourth outfielder.
Yeah, he can. I mean, he can play center field.
Yes, and he can play it well.
Yeah, but other than that, like, maybe Duran can turn into a center fielder, but like
maybe
he hasn't played it at all, so I don't know why. There's no reason to like assume that. But yeah, this is a really big. I feel like I said that about him last year, and Leody did some good things in AAA. It wasn't quite like full make or break year, but like this year, it really is for Leody, which is, it just feels so weird because like he's been on our minds. Like everyone thinks like, oh, he's this like 25-year-old who's been around for forever. He's got like 4 years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
He's gonna be 23 next year.
Yeah.
But he was on the scene, like on the prospect consciousness at age 16, and I think that hurt him a lot, especially with like prospect fatigue, because I think anybody being on like the radar at 16 is bad. Like it's bad for him. It's not gonna go well. Because even if you do like otherworldly things in like your professional debut in the Dominican League or whatever, like people can be like, all right, well, why isn't he at the big league level yet? Like I've been thinking about this guy for like 4 or 5 years. Why isn't he a big leaguer yet? And like that, even if you're doing pretty well, like had a pretty good season in AAA like he did this year, it's like, okay, well, hurry up and do it in the big leagues already, even though he's just gonna be 23.
Yeah. Yep. Prospect fatigue is a very real thing. And I don't think the average fan really takes into account age when they look at it. They just know how long they've heard about a guy.
Mm-hmm. That's why drafting college guys is good. Because they're already old. Or maybe it hastens the prospect fatigue. I don't know. Josh Young didn't have it long enough.
I had prospect fatigue in Dylan Tate about 2 weeks into his tenure. So
I had prospect fatigue the second they picked him because I knew I hated it. And I was right. Look at me. Yay, I'm a genius. What do I get? Sadness.
Half a season with Carlos Beltran.
half a season of washed Carlos Beltran. Not even,
right.
Playoff legend who had like a 200 OPS in his one playoff series with the Rangers. Woo! So glad we did that. Walker Buehler was in that draft, picked like 19th or something. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
If you wanted to pick a pitcher, it would have been cool to pick him, but they didn't. They probably would have ruined him too. So I mean, why am I even whining and moaning? It's fine. It's fine. But question number 6. Yeah, we said we were doing 5. You're getting bonus ones because we're generous, and it's the holiday season. I know it's not even Boxing Day anymore. It's just like December 27th, random day. But it's still the holiday season, so we're still giving more and more. And my biggest question is Josh Young. What does he do his rookie year? I don't know that, like, it's not like a whole lot of expectation, like, this guy has to break out or whatever. Like, I think he's going to have a really solid rookie year, but, like, I don't really have a barometer for, like, what I expect from him.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, I just wanted to come up, and I've been burned by prospects before, and I just wanted to, like, you know, do a pretty good job. Just, like, look out there and you're like, you know what? He's all right. He's a rookie. Solid job. Okay at third base.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting a little bit. I want him to be better than the average Ranger in the 2021 lineup.
Yeah, okay. I think he can manage that.
I would like a 750 OPS. I don't like putting numbers on it. I would like that if he's showing, you know, good signs and good plate approach and whatever, and it's just like, okay, the big leagues are hard. I'll live with that. But below a 700 OPS, I'm going to be mildly disappointed because he is such an offense-first guy, and he's hit at every level he's been at. And, like, I'm by no means going to, like, write him off after, like, if he doesn't have a great rookie season. I think he'll do pretty well. But I'm also worried about other people managing their expectations for him more than I am my own. Because my expectations are, like, I don't know. I think he's pretty good, and I think eventually he will get much better. But I forgot what it's like to have, you know, a reasonably productive rookie. So, like on a normal rookie like scale, I mean, Dane Dunning was like, what, 26 this year, and he'd already gotten a taste of the big leagues. Adolis is like 28 or whatever, and he should have been rookie of the year, but it's fine. I'm over it. But it's been a while since there's been one of those guys that's like come up and been like performed at even like that I've even known what to expect or what to have a barometer for. Yeah. Especially because of Leote's weirdness the last couple of years that he's been up.
I think he'll get somewhere in between those numbers, somewhere between 700 and 750 OPS. I bet he comes up just a little bit short of 750. If I had to put a number on it, 735, somewhere in there, that range. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll be solid. I'd be happy with that. I'm also not really worried about him because I like the player. I think the skill set's there, the talent's there, but I love the makeup. So even if he struggles, like, I think he's going to be fine. That dude loves ball. He has so much fun. I'm just not really concerned with what he does this year unless it's just an absolute unmitigated disaster, which I can't see it being. I'm just looking forward to watching him.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I've watched so many Josh Young games, and I'm looking forward to seeing the first big league one. Like that. That's going to be really exciting. I'm hoping that it's opening day. I think it will be. But I think there's going to be legit competition with him and IKF, and I don't know how that's going to go down. But
I bet IKF is not here, but if he is, then it will be one for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seems like the plan is now, is they're going to compete, and I mean IKF's defense is going to be worlds better than Josh's, especially at third base. I mean, he should have won like a platinum glove in 2020 because of how good he was defensively there. Wasn't quite as good at shortstop, but like he also
still very good.
He still doesn't really offense though, and so having an offensive floor that's much higher than IKF's ceiling, I think, helps Josh Young quite a bit. But anyway, question number 7 of 5.
I guess I'll throw out the question on Adolis Garcia and whether. So I assume they're going to give him an everyday job to start the year.
I feel like that's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable where they're at. But does he earn keeping one? Does he show he can be an everyday guy in the future? I feel like I know the answer to it, and the answer to that is no. But I think we'll get to see it play out to confirm it
Yeah, I think he is. I think he is an everyday guy. I really
Do
think
you?
he is. Like, I don't know that he's not a star. I don't think, but I think he's a solid, serviceable, like number 7 batter in your order. Provides some thump. Provides a lot of defensive value that is versatile, and is a guy that can get your clubhouse going and rally somebody to rally around, and will do some baller things that other people
Hmm.
can't really do. And I think that has some value. I don't think this season was a complete fluke. I don't think that the back half of the season was a complete fluke either. So like I know I think he'll be more around his like season average for the year.
Hmm.
Less highs and less lows. I'm really excited about seeing what the new hitting staff can do with him, because I do think he's a major league starter on a
Okay.
half decent team.
Yeah, I think he's a major league player. I mean, as I've said how many times on this podcast, like if you have plus power and plus speed, that gives you a lot of room for air.
Yeah.
And he's a really good glove. He can be good in center. He can play well in right. And he's got a lot of power. So I mean, he was what, like a 3 or 4 win player even with a 280 OBP last year, which
3.8.
showed 3.8 win player with a 280 something OBP, which shows you how much room for air you have when you have the tools he has.
Yep. And he has some loud freaking tools. I think this will be my final one for today. My final question the Rangers need to answer. And I'm combining two of them because they're both. I feel like they put up the best offensive performance of anyone not named Joey or Adolis this year, and that's like, what the heck are these guys? And it's Nathaniel Lowe and Andy Ibanez. Andy Ibanez is just like the ultimate mystery. And I don't know if last year was a complete fluke or what to expect from him. And Nathaniel Lowe is a huge enigma as well. I think that the new hitting staff is really going to help him. And I think I've lost Grant, but that's okay. But yeah, I really have big questions on those guys, and it seems like Grant is gone. So yeah, I'm just gonna finish this thought. But yeah, Nathaniel Lowe and Andy Ibanez, those are both guys that have some big questions to answer next year. Nathaniel Lowe, is he a first division starter? Is he going to be about 15% above league average? Can he start hitting those fastballs and crushing it, hitting for more power? Love the on base of 357. Andy Ibanez showed some defensive versatility. I would like him to walk more. I would like him to hit more extra base hits. But that guy knows how to put a bat on a ball and hit it a long ways. So I think he is definitely a big league caliber player. It's just, where the heck does he slot in? Because I have absolutely no idea at this point, and I would like to see what the heck he does next year. But with Grant dying off from his internet connection, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.